As many of you know, in late March, Megapixel Studio and Forever Entertainment released the Panzer Dragoon Remake suddenly to unsuspecting Nintendo Switch owners. It was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one, because I had been looking forward to this game for quite some time. While I enjoyed what I played, I definitely felt like the original game was better, particularly when it came to the overall speed and accuracy of aiming. Many were bothered by this as well, and so a campaign began to let the developers know that things could be better. To their credit, the developers were listening and began work to give fans some of the things they wanted. There have been a few updates since, adding things like a new soundtrack, as well as various audio and video tweaks. But it's the 1.3 update that really shakes things up. This update covers a ton of things the fans have been clamoring for since the beginning. There's a new 60 frames per second performance mode, the animation of the dragon has been toned down, input lag has been fixed, aiming is more accurate, and a bunch of other quality of life additions. After spending a couple of playthroughs with this new patch, I can say this with absolute certainty. The original still plays better to me, and that's okay. I don't need the two to play identical to enjoy them. It's actually good that they feel a little different and have their own nuances. Thankfully, I was quite a bit more accurate here than in my original review. I took less damage and I found myself absolutely destroying the game like it was nothing. In fact, if I had one piece of advice for the developers, if you guys do another update, you should add a professional difficulty that raises the damage you take with each hit, as well as increases the amount of damage the bosses can absorb. The last stage battle should last minutes, not be over in a few seconds. The 60 frames per second or performance mode as it's called here is fairly good, though you will notice a hit in the image quality department. It doesn't ruin the visuals, but I can't help but feel, if this was on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, we wouldn't be seeing this trade-off. On the plus side, you now get Episode 0 from the original Saturn game, or at least a version of it. Here you shoot down enemies on an endless loop to keep your life bar full. Eventually you'll run out and then you are given a score. This is a great way to practice your timing and aiming so you get better with the overall feel of the gameplay. There are also now cheats you can enter to help you out. There is a God mode, a super weapon mode that gives you crazy damage potential, as well as unlimited continues to practice that hard mode with. A bit of advice, these codes need to be entered at the title screen, and you must input them really fast for them to work. You'll hear a sound if you got it right, and the start will turn red indicating cheats are indeed activated. The input lag felt on the triggers in the first release has been pretty much eliminated entirely. With the camera being mapped to the L and R shoulder buttons, I had absolutely no issue getting through all the views of my dragon, and it feels faster there too. In fact, everything about the movement feels faster, including moving your dragon left and right, moving your aiming reticle, which now has a classic mode that keeps it in front of your dragon, and both A and B now shoot your main weapon, so you can switch between the two for a faster rate of fire. Also included is an HD rumble option you can turn on, motion controls that are about as useless as tits on a bull, and when you pause during the game, you can access many of the in-game options. The new remixed music is fairly good as well, though it completely lacks the power and emotion of the original. I like it, and it's a good change of pace to take part in here and there, but I prefer the original. That sound and feel remains some of the best music my ears have ever had the pleasure of hearing, and it's a part of the game I'll never get tired of. My original review wasn't too harsh because I expected these updates to come. Not as a concession or cop-out letting a beloved series get away with not being the best it should be at launch, but because this is the way of the modern gaming world. Patches, updates, additions, fixes, balancing, this is the way of today's game development. Love it or hate it, accept it or reject it, this is how things are and will continue to be. You can choose to support these games and continue to let the developers know how you feel, or you can let your wallet speak loud and clear that you do not like it. I choose to give developers credit when it is due. When passionate game makers truly want their software to be appreciated, they will listen to their community and try their best to accommodate it. The growing pains experienced here will hopefully mean that the Panzer II remake will have less of them. We as a community have a responsibility to communicate with game makers and let them know how we feel. Simply giving up will get us absolutely nowhere. The Sega that created these original games is long gone, and what we are left with are small teams doing their very best. These teams are often fans themselves, and like anything you love and want to see blossom into something better and more sustainable, you need to stand your ground and fight for it. That actually means that a game like this is far more likely to see improvements suggested by the community, something you don't often see with bigger budget games from much larger studios. You truly do have a choice to make. You can be a Sega fan that throws up your hands and gives up because things aren't like they used to be or you want them to be. Or you can be a Sega fan that has a voice in the community and works with your fellow gamers to let the developers know what you really want. To their credit, Megapixel Studio listened here, and thanks to them, we have a Panzer Dragoon game very much worth playing. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.